this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, um, so it's not heavy in the prototype information. I made this up several years ago, as you can see, about when the Transformer movie come out and they were starting to be a big thing. Let me move here. Okay, so the subject will be this boxcar. These were bought by the M&C now. This gives you all kinds of information, more than I ever remember. If I were to do this presentation today, I could use a lot better photographs that I've got since then, but I just left it as is for historic sake, I guess. But anyway, you can read this stuff at your leisure when this thing's put back out again. This stuff is coming up. I hope that it's good enough that you're seeing these things as they appear on the screen. Yeah. But it talks about the various spotting features of the appliances on the car. You know, they had wood running boards, had Viking roofs. The doors are kind of unusual in that they're 6-foot 3-panel doors. And the Barber S1 trucks, you can get Barber S2 trucks, but not Barber S1 trucks. Quick-go handbrake, no big deal. Square corner, ARA, boxcar. Basically, this is a red caboose, ARA square corner car. They're still around at swap meets. I don't know if Intermountain has them now, if they'll actually put them out or not. But that's basically the car. It was bought for automobile service I think in 37. Yes. Okay. So I haven't looked at this. So in 37, the cars kept getting bigger and bigger. And you know, the stripe on the door means it has Evans auto loaders. And the 37 plus that's underneath it that I have in the blue circle means that it can carry any auto built in 37. These are some photos, not of this car, but shows you how they would put these cars, load them in a box car. You can see in the lower photo, there's a guy with a dark jacket, and he's got a chain. He's putting it into a tube. There were tubes in the floor. You can also in the top photo, the dark Buick, you can see where there's a chain wrapped around the rear axle. They go into tubes in the floor. Kits you buy or ready-to-run models of automobile cars do not have those tubes. There's something you should add, I guess, if you feel like it. So here's a model of that car that I made many, many moons ago, probably back around the turn of the century or before even. I don't know if I'll talk about it, even though I'm not sure if I've got a slide in here that does show all of the stuff that's on the car. But basically, it's that red caboose body with a Des Plaines Viking roof. It has 8-rung ladders and A-line corner steps. They're mandatory that I use. That's just all my cars get those. The doors are the most interesting part. There's a man named Keith Redditor, and years ago he made castings of these doors for basically a C&O boxcar, a single door boxcar. And I read an article in a Model Railroad Journal. A guy was doing some C&O cars, and he used that door. So I got a hold of Keith. I got the doors, and then Keith passed away, or so I thought. And a couple of years ago, I was down at Cocoa Beach, and who should appear but Keith Redditor? And I says, I thought you were dead. And he just smiled and said, no, I'm still here. And but he sells, I think he still sells these castings, so the resin castings, the door. He also sells photographs. He's got all of the press steel car company, freight car, and whatever else still made. They're builder photos that he sells. But yeah, here we go. This picture shows all the stuff on the thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything here that I've written down. The Champ decals, which you can't get anymore. We'll replace those with something new. K4 just came out with an M&L Boxcar set. So you could use those decals to do this car. That looks like about it, other than the straight sill was just done with some strip styrene. And this talks about what I just talked about coming up with the car, how I come up with it to be able to build this model. And being as we're close to Halloween here, strange things happen at Halloween on full moons, and the car has changed after the full moon. The Being's automobiles were getting larger. They actually raised the roof on the car 6 inches. And this lasted for a while. And then the cars, as you can see what I've written here, the roof were raised in 41, and then by 52, the cars were put into regular XM general boxcar service. I painted the doors on this car black because I didn't know any better. But I don't think they were painted black when the car was redone. I have pictures now that would say otherwise, but I didn't know any better at this time. And there again, we're talking about all the stuff that was put on the car to make not the only changes were really made was to the roof. And I think I'll talk about that. Here's a photo. This is a Bill Kuba. Yeah, it is. Taken to Austin, Minnesota on the Great Western. And it's the third car back. At the time, this was the only photo of one of these rebuilt cars that I had. And the doors definitely looked to be black in this photo. Since then, I've come up with a couple of much better photos of this car with this raised roof configuration. Again, we're looking, I've talked about the chain tubes, so we won't talk about those anymore. Here's what I used underneath, basically just some styrene rod. There should be more tubes. As you can see on the left side, I put 2 tubes behind the bolster. Well, they were there with the truck operating. And I think the other ones next to the coupler would too. So those were all broken off and only the inside tubes were left. I had a long time, I had difficulty trying to figure out how I was going to make all those triangular gussets that they used to support the roof when they raised it. Basically, I just used a 6-inch piece of probably 6 by 30 or 40 styrene. And then I took these pieces. Finally, one day it dawned on me. I was fretting over this for a long time. And then finally, one day it dawned on me, if I just glued some pieces on there, I could come back with a sprue nipper and just cut them off at an angle. And this shows me doing just that. But a simple solution for a real painstaking problem that I talked about myself about for a long time. And here's basically that car before it's painted. Just shows the raised roof 6 inches, and raise the door, more doors, styrene along the bottom to make the straight six. And then the cars painted again with probably Champ decals, which we couldn't use anymore. Other than the 6-inch height difference, the car is virtually the same. Another full moon here, Halloween time. And look, the model has changed again. This would be the third iteration of that car. And there, yep, we're going to talk about that. This is easier to read than trying to remember. But in 59, they sent these cars to Evans, and they put in DF loaders, and it explains here exactly what was inside the car. And they were used a single 8-foot door. You can see I scribed some reinforcing on either side, kind of diagonal lines that come down to show where the reinforcing was when they filled in the double doors. And these cars were put in appliance service out of Whirlpool at St. Paul. And again, we're talking about Floquil paint and Mark Vaughn decals, which are not really available, but again, you can get these things from K4 nowadays. This is a photo here that Seth Marty took on the Emmett St. L here in Mason City of one of these cars, probably heading back north to the Whirlpool people. This one here shows the Viking roof pretty well. At this time, this would have been probably, I don't know if it was after the merger or not, might have been. I can't remember when the photo was taken, but they've changed the brake wheel on the car. To make those doors, this was an attempt that I made at the time. I think since then I've come up with better doors. I'm not sure if maybe Southwest scale models actually they possibly could. I'm not sure, but you can see here I chopped a door all to hell and tried to put it back together again as best I could. So it looks something like this when put back together, so that you get the right number of corrugations in each of the 3 panels, and then the completed model. And for a recap, we have as built. And is it going to do anything on its own? No. And then we have the roof raised for newer, bigger automobiles, and then screw it. We'll just use the cars as a regular box car. And then one more time, they decided they wanted to get into pool service with Whirlpool, and rebuilt the cars for use by them. And Mike Moore is no longer with us. I used his laptop at St. Louis or at Cocoa Beach when we did this thing. Jason Plocky, if some of you know of his layout, what we were looking at here was a diorama that he had made prior to the layout that he has now, probably 10 years before that. And that's the end, but it's a double feature. The second section, we're going to look really at making a Great Western 50-foot regular gondola. Again, here we have a lot more information that I've added, talking about the car, who made it, when it was made, some of the features that were on the car, even including the paint. Wow, I'm surprised. What's interesting about this is there was a time in I don't know if it was in the late 40s or into the 50s for sure, that they used imitation aluminum for their stenciling. So that was kind of unusual. Several cars were done with that imitation aluminum paint. This is another photo, one taken up in southeastern Minnesota. This one here, 3 of these cars, I think, yeah, it looks like it. 3 of these cars were set up with DF loaders, and they were used. I can't remember the service now. I think Jason Lockheed has made one of these things with the DF loaders in it. Somehow he's come up with that information. But any car that was a specialty car on the Great Western was painted maroon with imitation gold lettering and their emblem, Lucky Strike arrow. This car was made with, because it was a Pullman standard car, the Pullman standard ends were used. And basically you buy an old PS Walthers or AHM Boxcar at a swap meet for $1 or $2, and then cut the end off and replace the end that was on a model die casting or roundhouse 50-foot gun. I don't know if that was mentioned anywhere here. And then here we have Katie, a Cookco brake wheel with the ladders and stuff. I thought I made this thing. Looks like Jason gets credit for it. They also added a support along the edge of the top. I used a piece of angle iron, and I think the reason that was there was to keep the scrap or debris either from going in, staying in the car, or coming out of the car, or it might have just been to help support the side as it's being banged around, being loaded with scrap or whatever. Gondolas took a real beating. And then here's the car after it's finished. Now, Jason wanted to paint a decal this thing in the, I'm trying to look here. After this model was made with decal pieces, as you see listed here. Then Jerry Glow, this is many years ago, this was done. Jerry Glow made the decal set for this car with the aluminum lettering. So I think Jason has more of these cars now, and they all have the aluminum lettering on them. And that is it for sure. All done for real. Goodbye. See ya.
Very nice, Clark. Thank you.
Yeah, I figured that one was only going to be what, half an hour. That I don't know how long it was.
That's perfect. It was about 40 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. I talked more than I thought I was going to.
Or no, not 40 minutes. Sorry, 20 minutes.
There you go. That's more like it.
Yeah. All right, very good. Well, Ron,
I think if I remember right, years ago at Cocoa Beach on Thursday night, they would have short presentations after dinner. They would get together and go to this steakhouse, then come back to the hotel and do these short presentations on Thursday night. Then Friday would be the hour-long ones, Friday and Saturday.
That's cool.
Not like that anymore. Now it's hour ones, all probably from about noon on Thursday. Okay, I'll shut up now.